Hello, everyone. Very good evening, and thank you for giving us this opportunity for presenting us at such an international stage. So, I am Nidhishant Dixit, along with my teammates Roshan, Jain, and Sithara. We are from University at Buffalo. The supervisor for our research was Dr. Ram Ramesh, who is professor at our department, and the topic for our research was Erase the Waste. So let me quickly make you to go through the agenda for today's presentation. We'll go through the introduction of our study, then we dive deep into some descriptive analysis, and then followed by time series analysis, and we end our presentation with some conclusions and recommendations that we provide. So the purpose of study was to use analytical tool, and we have chosen Tableau Desktop here to analyze on the current state of waste in the New York City. If any alarming situations are found, we are to raise awareness and found alternatives to combat that issue. The data sources used in the studies are many. Some of them are United States Census Bureau, New York City Open Data Portal, Department of Sanitization New York, Statistical Atlas, and Statista.com. Though some of the data were not exactly the Excel table or CSV tables, we have to extract the data from the reports that they have presented. So the current world population today is 7.71 billion. I have a question for you guys. Any guesses how much will it be in 2050? Any guesses? Anyone? Thank you for your responses. I'm happy that no one said zero and we are going to hit by a meteor. But your guesses are quite close. And by the year 2050, we are expected to reach 10.62 billions. And we still have the same space on Earth. The Earth is not growing. We are growing in population. Now let's see the garbage that we are generating. 2016, we generated 2 billion tons of garbage, and it is expected that by the year 2050, we generate around 3.4 billions of garbage. Now, this is a huge amount, and again, we still have the same space on Earth. Now, let's quantify how much this garbage is that we are generating in today. So if we collect all the garbage from cities around the world and fill them in the trash trucks and line them up on a road, that lines up in a distance of 3,355 miles, and that is every day. Now, the distance is almost the distance from Miami to Seattle. So each day, we are piling up our trucks of garbage, which is equivalent to jamming from Miami to Seattle. And in 2050, we are doing it in double. So imagine managing this waste, and we are growing in numbers as well, but the Earth is not. So let's see which countries are generating the most waste around the world. Seen from the bar graph here, United States ranked number 1, and it's generating almost 256 million tons of waste every year, followed by China and India. An interesting fact that you will note here is Russia and USA, though they both have almost similar per capita population, and the garbage that USA is producing almost 4 times the Russia. So with population level density and the garbage production is still a reason of concern for United States. Now, since we know United States is generating more waste now, let's see which city ranks the number 1 in United States. That's New York City. In 2018 was ranked number 1 in United States. And a bad news, it was ranked number 1 in the world as well. So there's a reason to concern here. Now, if I'm living in New York City, I'm generating almost 2.9 pounds of waste every day. And the area around me in miles square, we are generating 15.6. And the whole New York City is generating a whole lot of 12,200 metric tons of waste every day. Now, Sithara will make you through some Tableau visualizations, which will be some descriptive statistics.
Yeah, this line graph show basically the New York City's distribution across its 5 boroughs. We can see that Brooklyn is the top most populated, followed by Queens and Manhattan. And Staten Island is the least populated amongst all. This population is expected to be on the rise in the upcoming years. So this tree graph basically shows the type of waste management facilities that are available in New York City and how many recycling facilities are available. So there are 3 types of waste management facilities. One is recycling facility, second one is a transfer station, and the third one is composting facilities. We can see that Brooklyn has the most number of recycling facilities and also transfer station. So if we hover over here, we can find the exact region of waste management facilities in Brooklyn, according to their zip code. One interesting fact here is that Brooklyn has one of the biggest recycling facilities in US, which can process around 800 tons of waste every day. And as the composting facilities are less in New York City is basically loading their waste to the other states and also to the other countries to process their waste. So this is based on the type of waste in New York City, that is metal, glass, plastic, paper waste, organic waste, and refuse done, and the amount that is collected on each year. The color yellow suggests lower collection of the waste, and towards red, it suggests the higher collection of the waste. You can see that New York City started collecting its organics waste from 2013 onwards. This dashboard is an interactive dashboard which gives more insight about the New York City's borough-wise waste collection. On my top left is the borough-wise waste collection, dark blue suggesting higher waste count, which is in Brooklyn and Queens, and light blue suggesting the lower waste count. On my right side is the New York population, and the New York City population is 43% on this particular year. Right below, we can see the total curbside waste collected on that particular year and the percentage of waste that each borough is contributing to that. So if we click on any borough, we'll get a borough-wise information. If you see here, in this particular year, you can see that New York City population was 30.83%, and the percentage of curbside waste was the highest in Brooklyn with 31.30%. On my down left, we can see the type of waste that particular borough is generating. We can see that refuse ton, which is on red color, is approximately more than 4 times the waste that of organic and recycle combined together. And an interesting fact is that in the time series analysis on my down right, we can see that from January to December, the waste collected, February alone shows a small dip in the type of waste collected. And on May and June, there is a rise in the waste collected on all the boroughs. This trend has been continuing for a few years. Now, Roshan will talk about the socio-demographic features.
Thank you, Sithara. So, yes, so essentially I'll be talking about the time series model that we've used, and we've used the garbage production as the dependent variable and the different socio-demographic factors as the independent variables. And the 4 different types are population by race, population by age, the number of households per income, and the budget expenditure. And as you can see, all these 4 different factors play a significant contribution towards the amount of waste that is being generated. So now I'll switch to the Tableau dashboard. Yeah. All right. So over here, as you notice, so we've just to give you a quick overview, we've distributed the waste as in the different factors into different criteria. And if you look at the first one, which is different distribution of age group. So over here, as you notice, the age group, which is between 35 to 64 years of age, ranks the highest, with accounting to almost 39% of the population. Then comes the distribution of race, wherein whites constitute almost 46% of the entire population, followed by black and Africans and the Asians. And at the bottom left, you can see that how the distribution of budget service is done, wherein 60% of the budget is allocated towards personal services. And for ethnicity distribution, you'll notice the race, which is, the ethnicity of Hispanic is almost 29% of the entire population. And again, followed by the total household economy, wherein the household economies which are earning greater than $75,000 constitute almost 40%. Right. So over here, we've built trend lines and patterns to show you how waste is affected by these different factors. And we have 6 different graphs over here. And if you notice, the garbage trend line is highlighted in orange. And so this is compared against all the different demographics. So let's start with garbage versus population. So if you notice over here, there's an increase in trend when there's an increase in population and increase in garbage, followed by garbage against budget, where you'll notice that when there is an increase in the amount of budget, there is more amount of garbage collected. Next, followed by that is garbage versus budget service, wherein if you notice over here, there's a very interesting fact, wherein when there's a drip or a drop in the personal service budget, there's an increase in the amount of garbage collected. So that means that basically more amount of budget should be allotted towards non-personal service, which basically more investment towards waste disposal trucks. Then followed by garbage versus median household income, wherein as there's an increase in the household income earnings, there is an increase in the garbage produced. And followed by that is the different kinds of household incomes, which is divided into three categories. And if you notice that when the garbage income is greater than the household income is greater than $75,000, there's an increase in the garbage production. And again followed by garbage versus ethnicity, wherein when there's an increase in the Hispanic and non-Hispanic population, there is an increase in the garbage produced. Now we've dived deeper and we've again segregated into three columns. And the first one is again garbage is the type of budgets, and there are essentially three types of budgets, which are awareness, control, and management budgets. So awareness budget is basically used for the goal is ideally to build awareness programs or educational programs to target certain groups, so that when people get more educated, they generally tend to produce less garbage. And that's pretty evident from the graph over here, as you can see. And followed by the control groups, and wherein control budget is essentially used for the day-to-day. Yeah, all right. Yeah, as you can see, there's an increase in the control budget, and because of that, the garbage production is also increasing. So that's because the control group, basically, yeah, all right. And then followed by the management budget, wherein it's used to take into consideration all the day-to-day activities. And as there's an increase in the management budget, there's an increase in the garbage produced as well. And again, followed by the population or garbage production by race and garbage distribution by age. Again, you'll notice there's an increase in the population of these different groups. There's an increase in the amount of garbage that is being produced. And Nidhishant will be taking over with the recommendations and conclusions.
Thank you, Roshan. So let's quickly go through the New York City Borough at a glance. We see that based on density, for every day, Manhattan is basically ranking top on production of recycles and refuse per mile square. Staten Island ranks number 1 in production of recycled waste production by every person. So that's a good thing for Staten Island, actually. For per day production, Brooklyn ranks number 1 in production of recycles and the total production of refuse ton. So these are the top rankings of different boroughs in New York City based on density, per person, and daily ranking. Now let's quickly come to the conclusion. Being said a lot, we see that increase in income level and increase in population size, be it based on race or age group, it leads to increase in consumption level around the city, which basically leads to more garbage production. Now, budget allocation and garbage production are two relative factors. With increase in budget allocation, it is expected that when we are spending more in budget for managing the waste around the city, the garbage production should go down. We have identified 3 garbage controlling factors, which are awareness programs, control programs, and management programs, which inherently become the budget components. And we have seen that the management programs for day-to-day activities collecting waste consumes most of the waste, consumes most of the budget for any of the city. Now, if we increase our budget towards awareness and control, it is expected that the management budget should go down, which is basically spreading more awareness and spreading more control mechanisms around the New York City. The waste production should be less, and the budget for managing the waste around the city should go down. So what's the challenge for city here? It's to control, monitor, and optimize these factors throughout the years for its budget, so that the overall budget for managing the waste around the city goes down. And if we know that the budget is going down, the city is producing less waste. So that's a good point. So these are, again, the conclusions written in words. So I'll quickly go through them. As income level and production level increase, consumption level has increased. Increase in consumption level leads to increase in garbage production. Garbage controlling factors are 3: awareness programs, control programs, and management programs. Management of garbage is being seen as the predominant factor in the budget component. Management cost could be decreased by increasing the budget for awareness and control programs. Main challenge for any city, or basically here the New York City, is to optimally allocate the budget across 3 different services. Recommendations. So these are the 3 recommendations we have divided for New York City. And again, these awareness, control, and management are the components which we have identified in over the past year's budget of Department of New York City. For awareness, we suggest them targeting the age groups, race, income, and borough who are producing or relatively producing more waste or are increasing in number as well. The age group 35 to 64, we have seen their numbers are growing in higher trend, so they should be managed more. Whites, who dominates the population in New York City, they should be managed or spread more awareness among to produce less waste. Income and borough. And these also can learn from other countries who are managing more waste. It's time up. Thank you.
Question?
Hey, my name is Andres. My question is for, I think, Roshan. I see how you divided sort of like the age groups, and I thought it was very strange because it's like from, I think, 0 to 18, and then from 18 to 35, and then it's like from 35 to 60. And I think that in all these different age groups, it's like from 10 to like 20 to like 30. So in your conclusion, you also said that like it's increasing, and I wanted to know if you're selecting such a range, how is it not going to increase? Because if you're taking 30 years from like 35 to 64, I'm assuming it's more people than from like I think the tens. And so I wanted to know, is the population at least like the same in those age range, or like how do you correlate those three groups, and like how did you find out
So
basically your findings?
let me answer this for you. So the age groups basically are divided here based on the maturity level. So below 18 age groups, we see that there are almost youngsters. And above that, we see the young generations who are moving into college life and entering their employments. And based on 35 and above till 65, which almost people retires, and 65 and are older peoples. So this is how we distributed our age groups. And regarding your next question, which was like how age groups increasing is leading to garbage increase, it's basically because if any of the sectors in population is increasing, their consumption level for food or any of the intake that they use or any product they utilize, their consumption level increases. And basically consumption of anything has a output which is waste today. So that's how we distributed the age groups.
Oh yeah, I'm not refuting that, but did you also look at how much population is in each group and to see
Yes.
how like
We have actually graphs for data for between 0 to 10, 10 to 20, all 10 years. But putting them here on the map basically makes more confusion. So that's why we divided them into three groups: below 18, 18 to 35, 35 to 65, and 65 and above.
okay, and were they the same?
They were almost same. That's why we divided into 0 to 18.
Okay.
Thanks for question.
Thanks for your presentation. I have several questions, but I will just ask maybe a couple this time. You mentioned that garbage production and education level has direct relationship. At the same time, income and the garbage production has direct relationship. And we learned that income and education has also direct relationship. So how do you explain income and, there's discrepancy. They're going different way. Also, when you say income has direct relationship with the garbage production, have you looked at household size?
So coming back to that graph, so the household size, this is the number of households actually, and household size has been almost same over the past 10 years in New York City. It's almost raised from 2.4 to 2.5. So there's not much difference in the household size in the New York City. They have been dividing into households. The households are increasing, but the average household is still the same.
The income, household size per income, not necessarily higher income earners produce more more garbage, but there is actually more number of family members in that higher income family. So it may not be directly related to income, but it may be more members. Also, the USA is being the biggest, the largest garbage production country. So population, you said, when population increases, the garbage production increases as well. If you look at China, there's 1.35 billion population there, but their garbage production is not as heavy as USA. So you factor race into this equation. On my mind, it may be more of a cultural issue than racial issue. So does race have to be part of this model?
So to clear one point, we are not showing any direct relationship between either economy versus garbage. So we're showing upward trends in the increase of income group or the income level, which is the median income level, and the races, the population divided by races. We're not saying that increase in a particular race is responsible for increase in the garbage. Since because the population is generating the waste, it is helpful to know that which race we are growing in number and to target the awareness programs towards them. And that's what our conclusion ended with, to target whites in there because they are more dominant in the in the New York City. So if we target our awareness programs towards some race or towards some methodology which worked in India for Asians or in Asian countries for Asian people might not work in here. So we have to think based on that as well.
Thank you, but I need more data on that.
I think getting more data is the difficult part.
Thank you.
Hi, can you go back to your conclusion slide for a second?
Yep.
There was actually another one that I saw. There was one that was bullet points. Yeah, that one. Okay, you have a conclusion that as income and level and population size increases, consumption level increases. But is that related to income? Did you do any work here to try to get a per capita garbage production? Because I feel like I'm missing something here that isn't the income level increasing that leads to it? Or is it the population size increasing? Because it makes sense, if population is increasing, it makes sense you're gonna have more garbage, okay? Even with a flat per capita. I would have liked to have seen whether per capita is going up or down and how per capita for an income level, and I didn't see that in here.
That's basically because we do not have most of the data for most of the times. Again, I love saying Pareto principle here. Our 80% time consumed was consumed for collecting the data. And out of that 80%, I would say we were successful in 20% and not even 20% because we're not able to get most of the data. And again, most of the data we have shown here is from the reports of Department of Sanitization, New York. They have not showed them in tables.
Okay.
So over the years, I think they have started collecting the data, but they are not putting on the public portals. And I think that they should be, they are not putting there, I don't know why, but if they start putting their data on the portals, we would have more insights on the points or the questions that you're raising.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We have time for just one more question, but you guys have missed a wonderful opportunity for a garbage in, garbage out joke.
Hi, Bajwa again from UNUC. I happen to be from New York City for living 20 years from Staten Island, and I have traveled all the boroughs quite details. I used to teach in Manhattan too. I think one thing which is responsible for the garbage is the industrialization. Manhattan has tower building, you know, those flats and all that, lot of restaurants and hotels. If you travel in the morning or in the evening, especially on Sunday in Manhattan, there are more garbage bags than the people inside the city. And in Staten Island, of course, population is low, but probably 10% of the garbage is on the streets. There is no proper mechanism, you know, like we have here. People just tie up the bags and leave it outside the houses, and then cats and dogs, all that kind of thing. So I think commercialization probably should also be taken into view than the population or anything else.
I agree with you, but the Department of Sanitization New York is handling only the data which is collected from households and public organizations. Most of the commercial garbage is being collected by private companies, which generally are leading under the DSNY, but are not directly managed by Department of Sanitization New York. So their data, they are keeping it private. They are not sharing their data with anyone. That's one challenge for us, because they are not sharing most of the data, like from which street they are collecting how much of data. They are just want to make money for collecting more data. They want more garbage so that they are in business, the private companies. And again, like based on the frequency, there's one interesting fact actually. The complete New York City, you should know that the garbage is collected almost 3 times a week if you are living there. And the population density is different all over the New York City boroughs. And this is what we have, one of the recommendations here for optimal routing or collection of vehicles and reconsidering the frequency of collection from these different boroughs. And one more interesting fact, we couldn't put it here, was the Buffalo City and the New York City. Most of the areas in near Staten Island, and I guess is almost having the population density equivalent to Buffalo. Buffalo collects its garbage only once a week, while Staten Island is collected 3 times a week. So that's again a wastage of fuel as well, again more CO2 levels, and that's how they might be managing more waste around the streets. Sorry? Thrice a week. They have put on their website thrice a week. Okay, I'm not lived there, but their website, I can trust you. I can trust a citizen. I can trust more you. But their website shows 3 times a week. Thank you for the question.
All right, good job, guys. Just a couple of. My usual question, for those of you who are familiar with New York University at Buffalo, please introduce the university. Say 1 or 2 things that people don't know about you guys.
So the University at Buffalo has a really rich history. So it started in 1848, and they've been growing since. And one interesting fact about UB is the sustainability index that they have, as in last year, apparently, this campus dining shop of UB, which essentially handles the catering services. So all the organics that were produced in refuse, so all of those organics were decomposed as in, through all these organic composting pits. And one more thing was the amount of books that are being produced. So UB actually, we had a program wherein UB went to a landfill, and we were able to approximately collect around 2.6 tons of waste from the landfills in the Buffalo vicinity.
The facts I was asking, you don't have to relate that to garbage and
Yeah, sure.
I was just more thinking any generic facts about the university.
UB is one of the biggest public research institutions, and it is one of the top 40 public institutions in US.
Is it also the largest?
It's largest Sunni institution.
Garbage producer. In
No garbage. It's just
good
an
job.
oversight.
Just that's a lighter way. Joking. All right, good job, guys.
Thank you.